Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to Lion Voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
What do you have to tell the people about Rastafari?
Light to the world. The king of kings and the conquering line of the tribe of Judah. I left himself. Where's my ruler? Hey yo! Yeah. Hear them high, hear the black king born the 23rd of July. So tell them guy who praise God up in the sky, it's a lie. The Almighty living on your night. From ancient time them a try. Them Romans know them just open them suit and ties. Criminals ain't got no alibi, they stole my people. Then them come without them genocide.
Are you talking about slavery?
Them couldn't kill. The lion will come conquer Judah tribe. Go through tribulation, and I strive, see sufferation, and I still rise. That's why we tell them in America, live Rastafari in every ghetto area. We come to tell them in a Toronto, straight at
So saying all of that, today's topic, we are going to do part 2 of an episode that's doing very well in reference to the current crisis in Ethiopia. Is Ethiopia on the brink of civil war? These are the questions that we are asking and we are looking. I want to just note that Ethiopia was just admitted into the BRICS conglomeration of countries. For those who are not aware, I'll play a little clip that gives some background on Ethiopia's admission to BRICS. And
one of those 6 new countries that's set to join BRICS is Ethiopia. And let's get reaction now from Addis Ababa. That's with Clotilde Azar. Clotilde, what more can you tell us?
This is a great moment for Ethiopia, said the Prime Minister on the social media X, the new Twitter. He declared that Ethiopia stands ready to cooperate with all for an inclusive and prosperous global order. 2 months ago, Ethiopia applied to join the BRICS to strengthen its economic position through an international institution that can defend its interests. It's now a done deal. The country was favored by China, major investor in Ethiopia. Yesterday, the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the President of China met and they expressed their willing to strengthen their partnership on multilateral platforms. China has also announced the suspension of Ethiopia debt repayments for 2023-2024 period. This is a good news for Ethiopia, which needs to recover from the 2 years war in Tigray, which deepened its debt and slowed exports and the job markets. For the BRICS, the country represents an important potential market in terms of investment and trade, thanks to its rapid growth and very large population. Ethiopia is the second most populous country in Africa.
Clotilde, thank you for that. Clotilde has our reporting for us from Addis Ababa.
If you love the format where we look at different news and we comment, let I and I know down in the comments, because we're going to be doing more of that. Of course, we utilize fair use under the copyright law that allows you to make commentary. And we always, anytime you see images here, they're for educational purposes. So we try to stay within the fair use. Add some value. We don't just have the image, we're explaining what's in the image or we're talking about something. So we try to stay within the confines of fair use as a creative industry attorney. Now, that being said, we're going to watch some news clips. I want to dive deeper into this Ethiopia crisis. So, I found a clip that represents some of the different voices and the talking points. And then we're going to relate it forward to the history of Emperor Menelik as it is written in Haile Selassie I Ethiopia. Because again, this provides an opportunity. This is why books like Haile Selassie Ethiopia and other books on Ethiopian history are so important to understand the context. of what's happening. And even though I wrote my book as an epic story, it's drawing on actual history. I provide my citations in the book, so you can see the sources of where the information is coming from. Do your own research, even though it's written, like I say, as an epic fantasy, and we try to highlight the splendor of the and use language that highlights the splendor and the mystics and the all of the different contexts of the different historical elements. So we're gonna do a little bit of that. So we give thanks again for ones, because what we're seeing now, and it became so clear, is a resumption of Ethiopia falling into that era of princes where it was war between the kingdoms. This is not a new occurrence, and if you don't know the history, then you would think this is a new occurrence. This is a return to the status quo, and this, to I, also shows the power of His Majesty, because during his reign there was relative peace. There was rebellion, but His Majesty, within one generation, that he was able to bring Ethiopia to that relative peace and stability, to allow the development to happen, so that even before this, Ethiopia was one of the fastest developing economies, building upon that same infrastructure that was set by His Imperial Majesty. And this is what the detractors, why they have a hard time, the people who call His Majesty dictator and tyrant, this is why they have a hard time, because the works are so tremendous. It's very difficult to argue with work, and as Rastafari brethren and sistren, particularly the Rastafari man, this channel is 97% male. I'm working on it, brethren, and I'm working, sistren, so please subscribe if you're a sister. But this is why, for the Rastafari man, your works are so important, because no matter what the detractors say, work is there, it's documented. The public education system, Ethiopia Airlines, the public waterworks infrastructure, all of these things that we're not thinking about day to day were put in place during the reign of His Imperial Majesty. The highest of himself shall establish I and I. Foundations of the Organization of African Unity. Addis Ababa now is the capital of Africa. All of the African countries have embassies in Addis. So it has that Washington DC vibration that was established by His Imperial Majesty, along with the strength of Ketama Yefaru. I'm big up, because I see some Ethiopians commenting, welcome to the Lion Voice. I'm here in the DMV. I have a lot of Ethiopian brethren and sistren, and people I consider family. So we're no stranger to the Ethiopian community being here in the Washington DC area. So welcome here, brethren. I'm giving my opinion. This is not a political channel, so we're not Amhara, we're not Tigray, we're not Oromo. We are the exile who are looking at Mama Africa and looking at the throne room and looking at the highest region in war at the same time as Africa's rising. And we are concerned. And this is why we're going to provide our thoughts on the matter. So for my Rastafari family, I want to just keep them informed on what's happening in Zion. And we call it, the whole of Africa is Zion to Rastafari. Let's just be clear. But the Ethiopia represents that throne, what we would call the throne, the Ark of the Covenant, the throne of David, the biblical prophecy that the David would have a man-child to sit upon the throne as long as the sun and the moon endure. We've seen that only happen in the Ethiopian Solomonic dynasty. The only thing that authenticates the biblical account in terms of prophecy. And again, hard to argue with the legacy the Ethiopians themselves speak. So this is not outside Europeans coming and telling the Ethiopians who they are. This is the Ethiopians never been conquered, declaring who they are. And this was done in the constitution of His Imperial Majesty that reference the dynasty of Solomon and Queen Makeda of Ethiopia, the unity of that dynasty. This was submitted in the United Nations as part of the charter, one of the foundation countries. This was written. No other country could make that claim. So Ethiopia is what it is in real life. You can disagree, but the reality, observable reality is there. We are those who are very concerned with war. We see what's happening in Haiti. We see what's happening in Ethiopia. We see what's now threatening to happen in Niger. As Africa, this great sleeping giant, 1.3 plus billion people, most under the age of 30, 75%, I believe, under the age of 30. These youths rising right now. There's war being instigated, and we know that for there to be a war, there has to be funding, and we have to look at what the interest. So we are, asking our Ethiopian brethren in the Amhara region, in Tigray, in the government, let us mediate and reason. You see how Tigray and the government have to end up sit down and reason, and it's always going to end up with negotiation. So let's start there respectfully. I say peace is the only solution, because Ethiopia is the seat. Ethiopia development is a light to all of Africa. We have the Renaissance Dam getting ready to go on stream that's going to light up all of East Africa. Electricity, cheap power. When you look at the United States and Niagara Falls and the Hoover Dam and all of these things, you have to look at what these things mean in terms of standard of living of the people. And the dam was proposed from His Majesty's time. In fact, the work for the dam had begun in 1930 before the Italians invaded. His Majesty actually had to sue on some of those contracts because the companies were paid and never completed work, and enough things happened. You know what I mean? So these are part of the history, but the dam was from His Majesty's vision and time. You know what I mean? Africa rising.
Them could never conquer the mountains. Thousands of years and counting. Ethiopia rise again unto the world. Now we are announcing. Them a plan for war, we a plan for peace. And now we see them wanna go dismantle the base. When the trumpet sound and the violence cease, how we say one go build up the cities. Well, them a plan for war, we a plan for peace. And now we see them wanna go dismantle the base. Rastafari crown as the Prince of Peace. Him tell the youths them fi build up them countries. Well, solar energy that them a see. The whole city powered by the sun's energy. The road them make out of hemp and concrete. Neighborhoods full of fruit trees that taste sweet. The youths put down them guns, them harvest and a reap. The beautiful gardens will line every street. Tired of the bloodshed, them done with the beef. Not even animals for them burn out the meat. Where people say Haile Selassie I see Nile. When they see say him a treat the dirt like a child. Peace on earth from the banks of the Nile. That's why we giving thanks in style. See say Babylon a weapon, them a stockpile. Babylon a wicked, kill them brother and smile. Iron, Babylon a reptile. Them a plant fish, shed blood, we got plans for the soil.